Raymond, good morning to you. Thank you so much for making the time. Quickly, what is your reaction to the latest news of club sales?
Well, Nicole, I think you have to divide it into two particular aspects. The one is the commercial aspect, and I respect and understand that a commercial entity wants to buy a club and wants to participate in the best possible league in Africa and participate at the highest level. And if they have the finance and the infrastructure to do it, and they comply with the league's rules and regulations, well, from a commercial point of view, there's nothing you can do, and you can just wish them luck. But from a football point of view, what we seem to be doing is we seem to be losing legacy after legacy after legacy. Bloemfontein Celtic, as far as I can recall, and I'm going back something like 40 years, has always been a traditional green and white team in Bloemfontein, Pule Sele Sele. I think if the late Petrus Molamela knew what was going on with his team and what he created, he'd probably turn in his grave. You can't keep on buying statuses and changing names and moving out from one area to the other, because eventually you're going to get to a situation where maybe 2 or 3 provinces are the only ones who have football. Football's a game for the people, and you have to allow them to do it. But I understand the commercial aspect, and I understand that you have to be able to sustain football. But I think if there's going to be changes like this, they shouldn't be certainly a week before the league starts. I think there has to be certain guarantees of sustainability that they'll be able to continue for 3 or 4 years. You saw the situation with Wits University. It was bought, and 6 months later it was sold. Where it's going to be tomorrow or the next day, I've no idea. But that's not what legacies are created. And you can't just throw away something that has been there, because it's your history. And, from that point of view, I feel very sorry for the people in Bloemfontein if Royal Am is going to move it, and presumably they will move it, whether it goes to KwaZulu-Natal or whether it goes somewhere else, I don't know. But, that's up to the owners. But if they've met with the commercial aspect and they've met with the league's requirements, from a commercial aspect, good luck to them. But from a football aspect, I don't believe it's right to buy your way into the league. You need to play your way to get your promotion, to know you're going to stay there. Every time you go, you get relegated. If you can buy another club and go back, I think that defeats the purpose of the spirit of the sport.
Raymond, talking about buying your way into the league, I mean, you're buying a club that is insolvent, firstly, and also has a 2-window transfer ban. So this means you're sort of starting on the back foot now for the new owners. So, I mean, I almost want to say, does that sort of make sense, at the back of you saying commercially it might work?
Well, I think what they're doing is obviously, before they buy it, they've lined up certain players that they wish to take. Yes, Bloemfontein Celtic may have a ban, but, there may be players who played beforehand. They may be amateur players. They may be players that are free agents who are, entitled to join. That's something that the owners have to decide. But if you're going to buy, you have to buy on a long-term basis. You can't just buy for one season. Yes, I understand they're insolvent, but when you're insolvent, you have to question, why were you insolvent? Were you overpaying? Were you not able to do it? I think people have to also look at the fact that, for the last year, because of COVID, you haven't been allowed to have spectators. Bloemfontein Celtic had one of the best supporters or support crowds in the entire country.
They have a large fan base.
They could rival Kaizer Chiefs and Pirates when they played.
Now, Raymond, just a quick one. Let's just quickly go back to Royal AM. Of course, they've been reportedly sold to TTM, but Royal AM is, of course, undergoing their PSL disciplinary. So what now happens with this pending matter?
Well, the matter would still continue because the owners are the same people. The officials are responsible for the actions of the players and the club as such. So the fact that Royal AM now decide to sell, if it's the same owners who are now buying Bloemfontein Celtic, they'd still be liable, for disciplinary action if the league decides to institute action against them, because the owners are the same people. If it's a question of new people totally who were not involved in football before, that's a different situation. But
so, Raymond, it is the same person. So are you saying, I'm so sorry to interrupt you, Raymond, but it is the same person. So Shauwn has owned Royal AM, who's currently undergoing the disciplinary, and she's now obviously sold that to TTM, and she's now purchased Bloemfontein Celtic. So my question is, with it being the same person who is involved here, what now happens to the disciplinary? Are you saying that she will still be held liable, depending on what the outcome is, of course, of that disciplinary matter? If it would have been an outcome that is not in her favour, whilst she's now bought Bloemfontein Celtic, are you saying, as the previous owner, she'd still be responsible?
Oh, yes, most definitely, because you are the owner. You can't discharge your liabilities on the basis that I've sold the club and bought it. You were responsible and you were in charge of the club when the offence occurred. So therefore, you have to bear the brunt, and you have to be the one who will be liable to answer to the charges. Whether she's guilty or not, that's up to the PSL to decide, whatever the charges are. But she was the person in charge of the offending, let's call it the offending players, the offending team, and the offending officials. So you can't, relinquish your rights and say, well, I'm selling my disciplinary procedure to the new owners, because their defences, we had nothing to do with it. We weren't there.
Raymond, we're going to have to leave it there for now. Unfortunately, we have run out of time, but thank you so much for joining us and giving a bit of your reaction, shedding some light on these club sales. That was former Bidvest Wits chairman Raymond Hack.